Ansley felt like she had been legally kidnapped. Ansley's dad had been accused of parental alienation by her mother. Parental alienation is the term used when one parent intentionally turns a child against the other parent.
I was 16. The world pulled right from under me. I was flown across the country against my own will and not allowed to tell anyone where I was going or what I was doing. My own brother, scared to death of planes, was forced to go on those planes as well. We were told if we did not go willingly, we would be forced to go. Not even 12 hours after we were told about this trip, we were getting ready to board the plane. After hours of flights, we were finally in Bozeman, Montana. We arrived at the creepy hotel room where my cell phone was taken, and they also took the hotel phone out of the room so that we could not call anyone for help. I was legally kidnapped. We had to live in fear for 6 months.
Instead of trying to find out the real reasons a child doesn't want to see the other parent, some court professionals recommend the child be taken away from the parent they feel safe with, placed in a reunification camp, and then ordered to live with the parent the child doesn't feel safe with. In Ansley's case, she and her brother were court-ordered to attend a reunification camp with their mother, thousands of miles from their home. Ansley didn't want to see her mother anymore. Ansley says her mother used abusive discipline against her and her brother.
I didn't want to see my mother anymore. She was hurting me. I was forced to behave a certain way. If I was not behaving the way my mother wanted, she would grab my arms and dig her nails into them. She would dig so hard into my arms that I would end up bleeding. She would leave scars as well. She would also do this to my brother too. If we did not listen to the bad things she was making up about our father, we would get bruised in return. I didn't want to see my mother anymore. She was hurting me. Her father used to beat my brother as well. We were children. We were unable to defend ourselves.
Her mother regularly said bad things about her father, and she tried to turn Ansley against him. Her mother allowed her new boyfriend to discipline Ansley and her brother, and life in her mother's home was generally unpredictable. Ansley felt safe with her dad. Ansley felt her dad cared about her welfare and did everything he could to be a good parent to her and her brother. She says that her home life with him was predictable, and she would know when she would have time to do her homework and when she would have time to hang out with friends and relatives.
Children are living in fear because of court's decisions. I was one of those children. I was let down by the family court system. The same courts that are supposed to protect the children are the ones hurting them. I was taken from my safe place and put in the care of someone who had no interest in being a parent. I was forbidden to speak to my father, his family, and his friends. If I spoke with them, I was threatened with going to foster care, a group home, or juvenile detention. If any of them spoke with us, they would go to jail. The court never asked me what I wanted at that age of 16. They just decided for me based on lies from the other side. I lived in fear for 6 months.
Instead of talking with Ansley and listening to the reasons she had for feeling safe with her father and not feeling safe with her mother, parental alienation professionals placed her in her mother's custody and forbade her from having contact with her dad and his family. Ansley felt the therapists she was court-ordered to see were very harmful to her and not at all helpful.
The court decided we were the ones who needed counseling. We were kids. We were trying to live happy lives. My mother had broken apart our family because of her affair. All because of her decisions, we were forced into counseling. We hated counseling. Our mother would be the one causing the problems, and instead of fixing what she was doing, we were made to fix how we responded to her. Once we were taken away, the court decided we were the ones who needed counseling still. Every week, we had to sit in an office and lie that we were doing okay. We were not. We were supposed to be able to trust therapists, but in reality, our therapists, appointed by the court, were our biggest enemies.
When parents get divorced, children often need their own therapists they can confide in and feel safe talking to. Often, family therapy is also recommended. But in Ansley's case, instead of addressing her mother's poor parenting skills and her inappropriate discipline of the children, Ansley says the court-ordered therapists focused on getting her brother and her to change their behavior.
I'd always believed that once I turned 18, I was finally free. In my state, apparently there were different circumstances. South Carolina allowed me out of hell when I turned 17 years old. I could not take my mother and the things she was doing any longer. I went to the social worker at my high school and sought out emancipation. Come to find out, when you turn 17 in the state of South Carolina, you were pretty much considered an adult. This was my first ounce of freedom I had ever been given over the course of a decade going through that misery. I packed my bags at my mother's house and walked out and never looked back. Finally, being able to make my own decisions was the best thing to ever happen to me.
In general, children should not be given the responsibility of deciding where they live or having to choose between parents. However, courts and court-appointed professionals do need to hear about children's experiences in each household and their preferences from a very early age. This input from children is critical for a child of 16, the age Ansley was when she was forced to reunification camp and then removed from her father's home.
We do not speak with our mother now because of the pain she caused. For years, we begged our mother to stop. We begged her to stop doing the things that she did. She never listened to what we wanted. She had her own vendetta of trying to ruin my father. She did not care what we wanted or how we needed her to be there for us. She was more worried about getting remarried and living her life. She backed the therapist and the terrible things that they were doing, and she still backs them to this day, even after everything that they did was proven to be wrong. We don't speak with our mother now at all because of the pain she caused all of those years. My mother is still not sorry for the things she did. She is not sorry for putting herself before her children.
To this day, Ansley feels great pain as a result of the way she feels her mother treated her and her brother after the parents divorced. The purpose of reunification therapy was to improve Ainsley's relationship with her mother. Now, 8 years later, Ansley and her mother have no relationship at all. Ainsley believes that the way the court and the court-appointed therapists handled the case made the situation so much worse because they all wrongly believed that Ainsley's father was guilty of parental alienation.
My name is Ansley Youngener, and this is my story.